Welcome. I am so thrilled that you have joined us this Friday. My name is Christina Caputo, and I am one of the Forefront librarians. I'm joined with Rita Kerrigan, who is also on this call, and she is the other Forefront librarian.
Good morning, everyone.
She will be monitoring the chat and the Q&A as we go through this presentation. Today's workshop is Introduction to Prospect Research. We are going to be looking at individual donors. Historically, in the United States, individual giving has been the biggest source of private giving, which has far outpaced foundation or corporate giving. And a successful nonprofit organization has diversified funding streams, and individual donors play a very important role. If you or your organization is new to individual donors, or if you just need a refresher on prospecting, this webinar and workshop is for you. We're going to provide you with an overview of the funding landscape and walk you through the key components of individual donor prospect research, all while giving you a few tips and tricks along the way. Forefront. If you're not familiar with Forefront, or if you're new to Forefront, we are Illinois' statewide association that serves the nonprofit sector in Illinois. We represent nonprofits, grant makers, advisors, and allies. And our mission is to build a vibrant social impact sector for all the people of Illinois. The Forefront Library is a unique service point of Forefront. It was established in 1973. And then at that time, the Forefront Library was actually established before Forefront, and at the time it was called Donors Forum, was even incorporated. They trailblazed educational offerings and specialized resources and unique supports through the original collection comprised of Chicago Community Trust Foundation collection, along with the Newberry Library and the Center for Research Libraries at the University of Chicago Regional Collections. Today, we continue to lead knowledge services in the sector by being one of the only statewide associations that has a professional specialized library and 2 professional librarians on staff. So what we do here at the Forefront Library, we offer specialized research to our Forefront specific needs, whether it be prospect research that we're going to talk about today, either on institutional funders or individual funders. We can offer a variety of different resources on samples, templates, survey salaries, whatever you can imagine. And so we also have historical archives, which are specialized and rare. We offer research and inquiry, equitable access, and you have us, the subject experts, both myself and Rita. So it's a very unique service point. Some of the things that we offer, if you're not familiar with us, we have databases that we offer for prospecting and for research. We also offer best practices, templates and samples, curated research, philanthropic topics, equity and trust-based, anything truly in the social impact sector that you can imagine, right? We are a library. We operate in the sense of any library that you perhaps have encountered within your life. You have an informational need, and you ask us the informational need or the question, and we will provide you with resources. And so while we don't have the hottest Danielle Steelbook, we have anything and everything you can imagine on social impact sector. If we don't have it, we will do our very best to find it for you. And if it goes beyond our expertise, I promise that we will never, ever leave you hanging. And we will either direct you to someone or we'll do what we can do within the constraints of being a library. So with that being said, we, both Rita and I, are professional librarians. We adhere to the Library Bill of Rights and the Code of Ethics for librarians. So we hold ourselves to a standard. We also offer any interaction that we have in the library is a confidential conversation. And I think that that's important to talk about, especially when we're talking about donors today. And so any conversation that you have with us is a confidential conversation. And I think that's important to know. Do you have any questions so far just on the services we offer before we jump in? Okay.
Nope.
So what is prospect research? Prospect research, simply put, is a process of identifying target donor audiences. And now analyzing their giving capacity and relevance to the organizational goals, and prioritizing according to the most suited prospects. It's often referred to as donor research or donor prospecting. So there's different names, but essentially it's a strategy that we can use to further your organizational's mission. And as a nonprofit organization, the goal is to maximize funding efforts. And so maximizing the funding efforts, when we look at this today, is talking about individuals. It can also be applied for foundations, even corporations. It can be applied to a variety of different subjects. But for the donor today, we're going to be talking about individuals. And it's looking at individuals that have a high likelihood of supporting the organization's mission and vision. Prospect research is a data-driven strategy which allows nonprofit organizations to make informed decisions about who to approach for donations and how to cultivate and maintain long-term and long-lasting relationships with their prospects. That was a lot of info, right? But why is prospect research so important? Well, it's the process of looking or searching for prospective donors, but it's the strategy behind it. Donor acquisition continues to challenge nonprofits. I mean, I can say to you, and you can be like, oh, well, Christina's saying, looking at individual donors, it's easy to say, but it can be hard to do because how do you find individual donors? How do you know which donor to ask for what? And so this is a process and a strategy that supports those questions. So a robust prospecting strategy is going to help you find likely prospects for your organization. And it can be absolutely paramount to success because prospect research uncovers current and prospective donor, their background, their philanthropic history, wealth markers, charitable motivations, all types of info. And these methods and strategies allow us as nonprofits and allow, fundraisers and development teams to evaluate a prospect's capacity to give, meaning how much money they have to give at that time, and their affinity for an organization. So like their desire to give to that specific cause. However, having a diversified funding strategy is to build a resilient financial foundation for nonprofits. Diversifying our funding sources is a critical strategy to achieve this balance, helping nonprofits reduce a single reliance on any single donor or grant and maintain stability. Historical data reveals that organizations with diverse revenue streams tend to fare better in terms of uncertainty. So the reason I talk about this is because we're going to see in the future slides of a breakdown of the giving data. So if we only rely on one source of income, right? When that income stops, our organization could stop. So we want to continue to offer services, and having a diverse funding strategy is going to help us sustain. And so looking at different funding sources, for example, individuals, is going to help us sustain too. The Giving in USA report. This comes out every summer. I think it was June or July, every summer. And so what it showed us was that Americans gave 557, a little bit over $1 billion in 2023, because it shows us what they gave the year prior. This is a very long running report that's very comprehensive. And its annual report on philanthropy, it's a very comprehensive report. It has different chapters that give analysis and analyze varying scopes and findings on charitable giving throughout the United States, and looks at different giving sources. And so, but today what we're going to be looking at is individuals. However, I'd like to give you an overview of what this showed us, why looking at individuals is going to be so important. And so $557 billion is a lot of money. I think it is. And so this is the highest charitable giving total in history, which is a 1.9 increase over the year previous. However, when adjusted, because there has the inflation coming in, it says that the total giving decreased by 2%. But the good news is that organizations and people are giving, which we're going to see in the next slide here. Because you're thinking, wow, 550 bill, like where did that generosity come from? Because I thought so too. Check this out. This gold on the pie, the biggest portion of the pie, is coming from individuals. $374 billion came from individuals. And 19% came from foundations, 8% came from bequests or planned giving, and then 7% from corporations. So when we look at this is a big chunk of change, right? In the whole landscape of giving. That's why I say, let's look at individuals to help sustain our organization, because there's a big chunk right here. So these trends that we're seeing signal that nonprofits should continue to focus on relationship-based fundraising with individuals. The importance of relationship-based fundraising in building strong ties to individual and family funders becomes clear when we look at when we're evaluating how the dollars across these sources are directed. Individual, bequest, and family foundation portions of the foundation giving accumulated and accounted for 84% of the total philanthropic giving, meaning the giving decisions were made by individuals, 84%. So maybe thinking, okay, Christina, well, that's, a report from last year. What is it fair now because of the challenges that, I have to let people in, the challenges that the nonprofit sector has recently had in conversations that have been recently had. A new report that came out in the Donor Confidence Survey, it was commissioned in November by Dunham and Company and conducted by Campbell Rinker, just came out. And our community partner, friends at Candid, posted these graphics. So thank you to our friends at Candid, because I put them in our presentation. It was the most perfect timing for us to put it in. It showed us about the donor confidence and what we're seeing. So given the challenges U.S. nonprofits are facing, can we count on individuals? And here's some data points to know. So it said among 91% of folks who they will continue to give in 2025. And so this is what it showed from last year. So here's the yellow. They ranked higher. Here's the ones that said that they'd give less. So people are saying that they are continuing to give more. So that's nice to know. Oops. Clicking on anything here. I apologize. My computer is now frozen here. Okay, there we go. This is also from the same report, Donor Confidence Survey. It said, one of the questions, helping meet the needs of a nonprofit is the top reason donors anticipate giving. And it says for the needs of a specific charity, personal financial situation, condition of the economy, so on and so forth. So needs of a specific charity, people are willing to give if they see that there's a need for a charity. And that means a charity that they care about, right? And why shouldn't it go to your charity or your nonprofit? So that's what we're going to be looking at. But also when asked about amount given, individuals donated more or less in the last year. Oops, I apologize. Let me just cancel that. Individuals donated more or less in the last year, regardless of age. And here's just the breakdown of ages of what they've given over the course of the time. So, individual giving fundraising plan. This is a living document. So before we can begin really prospecting and even diving into it, your organization needs a plan. And this is going to help you drive your prospecting strategy, drive your prospecting forward. It's going to be a roadmap for you. It's a living document which lays out specific fundraising tasks and strategies for your team, for yourself. And we are going to be, when we follow up, the follow-up email to this presentation, we will send you the template that's going to be on the next slide. Organizations need a process. You need a fundraising plan of some sort. Every organization's fundraising plan or development plan it will look different. There isn't just going to be a one-size-fits-all approach to this because each organization is going to have a different funding need. You're going to have different donors. You're going to have a different mission, a different project that you're working on. So there isn't a one size fits all. This is just going to be kind of like a shell of a template to show you if you don't have one that you're working with currently. And you think, oh, okay, do I really need to have a fundraising plan, a solid one? Absolutely. You wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, right? So I don't recommend jumping into a fundraising without a plan. And you can burn out fast. And so we want you to be successful. Your organization, we want you to have the best possible outcome. So having a best practice and a fundraising plan is going to be something that can help, in addition to the prospect research, because that is going to support you in getting more donations, engaging more supporters, and most importantly, making a bigger impact. So we're going to give this to you at the end when we send out the follow-up. But what it will look like is this. So it's a detailed plan created to guide you through a chosen campaign or through, your fiscal year, whatever it is that works for your organization. But really, it just is who you're going to engage, the goal for that, right? Your strategy, so on and so forth. And then it will have the person responsible. So it's a living document. It's an Excel sheet that you can enter these in. And they're also SMART goals. So these are also good when you're doing performance evaluations and your performance plan, because it's something that you can have readily available. But these are strategies, and they vary depending on your capacity, the goals of the nonprofit, et cetera, et cetera. But regardless of the fundraising goal, the main thing is to remember when crafting your strategy is to be thorough. A well thought out, detailed fundraising strategy can help you ensure you've covered all your bases when it's time to launch your fundraising and development plan, which is going to give you success. So we will send that out at the end. Now, the number one donor, the reason donors decide to give was that they were asked by someone, a fundraiser. And we loosely say fundraiser here because fundraiser can even be someone associated with your organization. It can be a board member, it can be someone who's engaged with your nonprofit. If you offer programs, it can be a participant. So you have to know who you're going to ask before you ask them. Donor prospecting and individual prospecting is a personalized thing that we do. We have to know who we're engaging with and why. It is something where we have to know the person's name. That's something that you have to know when you're going to be engaging with somebody, the donor. And you may say, well, how do I find those names? We totally understand that because it's hard. There's different things that you can do. There are consultants and things where you can purchase lists. However, what we recommend, what the library is going to recommend, is first start with your donor database. Who has given to your organization in your past? Who has worked with your organization in the past? So we're looking at your current donors. We're going to look at, volunteers, anyone who has been associated, if they've come to a program, if they signed up for your newsletter on your website, if you've met them out at outreach or community engagements. Have your internal database or records be cleaned up before you begin to do your prospecting. Because see, your donor database, that's internal, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet, whether it's Salesforce, whether it's, your CRM, whatever it is that you use internally to watch your donors or to track your donors. If you're a new nonprofit and you don't use one, you can always just use an Excel. You don't need a fancy database to host this if you don't need it, right? Every organization is going to be different. But having some sort of internal organization to track your donors is going to be imperative too when we're going to look for prospecting. So this is a critical asset in your fundraising toolkit. This is going to store valuable data about your donors and provides insights that can be leveraged for more personalized and effective fundraising strategies. Clean up your donor database. And what that means is looking at past donors, previous donor or potential donors, right? And your current donors. If you have received a bounce back, say you do a mailer and some of the mails, the US mail, snail mail, bounces back to you as a return to sender. That's something that you can do throughout the year. Clean up your database, take out their address. And so the reason I say look at your current donors or past donors or lapsed donors, these donors have already proven their love for you. They've already donated to your organization whether in some capacity. They've already engaged with you. You already have a rapport with them. And so they are going to be amazing for referrals, right? Ask these donors for referrals. You can engage with lapsed donors. So if it's a donor that hasn't given to you in a while, it could be for a variety of different reasons, engage with them and continue to cultivate that relationship. You see, this is what I'll even say. So Rita and I teach about this a lot to different organizations, and we'll do one-on-one trainings. One of the things I say, it's like, if I'm out, pretend like I'm out, right? I'm just out at the store and someone walks up to me and says, "Hey, Christina, can I have $100?" I'd be like, "No." But because I don't know. I don't know you. I don't know what you need it for, right? Like, I have no idea. Like, I'm like taken aback, like, wait, what? What are you asking that from me for? But if it's someone I know, it's someone I have a relationship with that, I have a good rapport with, if they say, "Can I have $100?" I'd say, "Well, what do you need it for?" Right? Like, that's a conversation that you begin to have. So I say that because right off the bat, when we are in a cycle of give me money, give me money, give me money, without having the relationship piece, it is not going to be as successful. So using your donor database to continuously cultivate and steward those relationships is going to be very, very important. If you have a strong relationship with your current donors, ask them for referrals. That will grow your network, because what we're trying to do is grow your network so then we can prospect for you. And I'll show you what that looks like. But you may be thinking, okay, well, we've already exhausted our donors. So now what? Well, you're going to grow. I have this strategy, came up with it years and years ago. It's called Grow, Deepen, Engage. So you want to grow your network, okay, in whatever capacity. Through your board, if you're a nonprofit, you have a board. Lean on your board. Ask your board for connections. Ask them for where else that they've served, or, that's something that you can have your board do without asking them for financial support. Can you help us with finding new donors? Can you help us? Can you introduce us to this? Or to these people. Engage with civic groups, local civic groups, whether it is the Rotary Club, looking at like the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, thinking about community engagement, thinking about the public library. Public library is like a gold mine. And I know I'm a librarian, so I say this, but Rita and I go to, there's a nonprofit exchange group that meets at Arlington Heights Memorial Library, which is wonderful, just to, have like a professional network to grow, but also like we are out in the community learning about what people and organizations in the sector need. That's just one way. Like, we're growing our network of who we can serve, because you all inspire us every day to come to work. And it's amazing. And it's our absolute honor to serve you. And so if we can reach more organizations through our services, that creates our sector to be stronger, you see. So there also is a very active group at Vernon Area Public Library that has a nonprofit group, and they offer professional development. And so, growing that and looking at what organizations do and how to engage with them is going to help you too by growing. Professional network. Please feel free to engage with me on LinkedIn. I have my LinkedIn here. I share a lot of grant opportunities as well on my LinkedIn. So, it's growing our network. And I'll tell you that I was out last night, like on a personal note. I was out with I'm a mom. I had my 5th grader who had just finished his travel basketball. And I'm sitting at this restaurant for like their banquet. And this guy is smiling at me. And at first I'm like, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how are you?" Because, like when I'm talking to somebody else, like you turn and you're like, "What's going on?" It was someone who is a magician that I met at a birthday party, who was phenomenal. Randy the magician. He is amazing. And after the show it was my nephew's birthday party a couple years ago, I said, can we connect and can I use you or put you on my consultant list or whatever list for organizations that will ask in the library, like, do you have any entertainment recommendations? We're having a gala come up. We're having this, So I asked him if I could put him on one of our lists to share his contact information when people come and talk to us about their ask for recommendations. And so he said, yes, absolutely. And so I saw him out in the wild last night, and he did an impromptu magic show for our team, which was wonderful, right? So it's like building this community of support and help that is just making the sector stronger. But that's what I mean by professional network, getting to know people and getting to know organizations. Leverage your social media. Absolutely leverage your social media and use your GuideStar, which I'll show you at the end of what I mean by that. Your GuideStar is a free service by Candid. And if you have not claimed and updated your profile, we absolutely recommend doing so. In social media, tell your amazing stories of what you're doing with your organization. You're all doing amazing work. So if you're not leveraging that platform, please consider doing so. Now, what we do here at Forefront. So we offer for our Forefront members. Now we are specific to looking at our Forefront members and what we do. And so the Forefront librarians will screen 20 prospects per week. We use Kindsight iWave, which is a really awesome database. And it supports nonprofits and it helps us further our mission. It makes a positive impact in the community. And it's so critical for nonprofits to develop community engagement and revenue generation that empower strong relationships with current and new donors. So one of the most effective ways that we can do this is through prospect research. So here's the thing. These records contain personal information that I'll show you a shell of one. But what we do, our members we have a template our members will fill out. We need the name. Like I said, the thing that you need to know when you're looking at your donors, especially new donors, you need to know their name. For us at Forefront, what we do, you have to have the name and the address, and we will put your prospects through this database. And what it's going to show us is a very robust, comprehensive profile of their past giving history, et cetera. So it's compiled the data from tax records and other public data sets. If you ever Googled somebody, I don't know, say you went to third grade with, and it went to like 1-800-whitepages.com, and for $3.95, you could get their current address and phone number. This is going behind that paywall. It's scraping all of that information, but it's also scraping information that is useful for your fundraising plan. So it's pulling from these public data sets, looking at foundation history, charity giving, etc. That is going to be useful. Now, due to privacy, due to sensitive information and identifiable information that can be found in these profiles, I'm not going to do a live search on the video recording. However, if you'd like to stay after I end the video, after the Q&A, I can show you what it would look like off of the recording of what a live profile would look like and what it would yield when we search. So please keep that in mind as we go through. So these take the guesswork out of who to ask, right? You may be thinking like, oh, my current donors, people will come to us and they work with us and they'll say, well, we don't know who to screen. I will say, this is what my recommendation is. We'll screen your board. Let's see who they're connected with. If you don't want to see what their giving capacity is, I'll show you here on this side. If you don't want to see what their giving capacity is, that's okay. We don't need to see what their giving capacity is. We don't need to see their plan giving score. We can limit it to see what their connections are. So one of the sample profiles of what it would yield is, I blocked out the person's name, but it would show us like their iWave score, which 4 is going to be is the highest. So it's a strong candidate. It will show us 3, this one for plan giving. It shows us their estimated capacity. Now, this is not showing me what they have in the bank. It's showing me what they could give based on this real estate. It will show charitable gifts. It shows their real estate value, political contributions, subjects that they have engaged with, and what they've donated to in the past. It will show me, unfortunately, I can't show you on the recording because I'd be able to identify back to the donor, but I can see, where people have served on boards, which is really, really useful when we're looking to grow a network. We can see if they have a boat or their address, whatever it is within these public data sets, it will put it into a beautiful profile, which is aesthetically pleasing, at least I think so, but it makes it really easy to read, right? And it takes this guesswork out of, oh, say this is, let's just pretend this is your donor, Billy Bob, okay? Billy Bob gives your organization every year, like clockwork, $100, which is wonderful. And we're happy that Billy Bob gives $100 to us. And you may be happy, right? And so you may wonder to yourself, well, maybe we should see if we can ask Billy Bob for more. And so if you are a forever member and you work with us, we could scan this person and we would see through this estimate these capacities here that yes, you can ask Billy Bob for more. So you could up your ask with this particular donor, right? Or we can also find out that the donor is giving the absolute most that they can give. But regardless of if they give you $1 or $10,000, right? It's having that relationship with them, the cultivation throughout the year, which is going to continue to drive your giving, their giving to you up, right? So it's the grow, deepen, engage. You grow your network, you deepen the relationship, and then you engage with them. So it's having touch points throughout the year, thanking them if they'd like to be thanked, leveraging your social media, et cetera, et cetera. So those are all different, but this is what a sample profile would look like. Now, GuideStar. If you've worked with me, you know I love GuideStar. GuideStar is through Candid. It's absolutely free to use. I recommend, if you have not claimed your profile, if you've not engaged with it, if you don't have anything, you don't even know what it is, we can send you the links in order to do so. But GuideStar is going to be something that is very, very helpful, especially if you do social media campaigns. So GuideStar uses your organizational credibility. And when you claim your profile, it gives you the opportunity to put different information in there, whether pictures, data sets, information about your programs, personalize it for donors to see. Okay. Every organization that has filed a 990 has a GuideStar. So you can earn these different levels of transparency, and that will end up paying off because research has shown us that organizations with transparency earn 53% more. That's a pretty good number, right? The other thing to know with this is the GuideStar profiles in Candid. Candid has a partnership with Meta. The fundraising platform on Facebook and Instagram, like, I don't know, your friend is like, instead of giving me a birthday gift, please donate to XYZ Foundation. That information is scraped from Candid. So if you have your GuideStar updated and you click on this, there's a check or something that you click to share, you can have a social media campaign too, just like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, what's next? Fundraising Academy offers free courses. I found them to be really, really good. I thought they were excellent. And so they have an online learning portal. It is register.fundraising-academy.org. And what they offer are these cause. One of them I found I really liked was the cause selling, which is a piece. There's a piece of prospecting in here, but it really talks about the whole strategy, right? So here's a traditional fundraising cycle. Have you heard we need money? We need money. So this is in this hamster wheel. I don't want to say panic, but this constant, we need money, we need money, we need money. Where this one, it goes, this is what they're teaching you. the cause selling, and it's really relationship based, where it's how your donation is going to affect, right? Supporting our cause through a donation, and it's really relationship based. I found it to be really, I thought they were excellent. So I'm sharing it with you in case you would like to further your strategy. Oh, and another, yeah. And this is just a piece of it. Cost selling, a guide to relationship-driven fundraising. It's knowing the fundraiser's donor's name, gathering information. So this is what we would do, right, when we're prospecting, introduce themselves to the donor, et cetera, et cetera. So it breaks it down, which then can be put within that fundraising plan that we'll share with you. So then they can be measurable and trackable, et cetera. Here is some statistics. I'm going to leave this up. And I can answer some questions while this is up. It's just showing you some statistics and like about giving, et cetera. Does anyone have any questions for me? Rita, is there any questions that we can answer?
Yes, one question. Somebody was looking for a recommendation of a donor database app that might be more robust than an Excel spreadsheet that is cost appropriate or cost effective for small nonprofits.
An app. So,
I don't know.
well, I mean, there's a lot of different ones, right? I know there's like Donor Perfect. What we use is iWave. Well, they rebranded, I'm sorry. I use Kindsight iWave. But I know if you have Salesforce, there's an integration that there's these app integrations that you can have. So I think truly it depends on your organization. It's going to depend on your budget. There's going to be so many different factors that come into play because there are so many out there, right? If you want to email us, here's my email. We can provide you with a couple, perhaps, that would be more. Here's my email, Caputo and Ritas at rkerrigan@myforefront.org. We might be able to target it more for you and for your organization, just because there's so many out there, right? Are there any other questions for us? No? I'm going to stop sharing just to come back and see just what my screen sharing I wasn't able to see. Okay. I see a direct message. Hang on. Oh, I see. I had a question about someone who said, I've been thinking about connecting with people in upscale retirement communities. Any thoughts? I think that, you know what? There is a great wealth transfer, the transfer of wealth that's going to be happening. I can't remember the year, but it's the biggest in history. It's trillions of dollars. And each generation does have different ways in which they like to be worked with, right? Statistics that we can even share on that. But I think that I don't see why not. I mean, I think if you don't try, then you don't know. Would I walk up to someone and ask them for money right away? No. I would begin to cultivate my relationship with them, and I'd work with them. If you're wondering like how and what, invite them to your programs. If you do in-person programs at your organization, invite them. You don't have to have a big grandiose reception, right? It can be a cup of coffee, and invite them to sit. If you have an after-school program, invite them to come or speak at it. And if you have donors that are completely hands-off, that's cool too, but maybe a handwritten note. Personalizing that approach is going to set you apart. I can just speak from my own personal experience. I attended a family camp this past summer with my family. And so we weren't donors, but we attended this camp, and I had received in the mail. I mean, it was beautiful. this capital campaign kickoff that they're going to do and what they want to do. And they had metrics in there, the amount of monies that they needed to get to that point, blueprints, and it was lovely. And then, like I'm like, whoa, this is so nice. And then I received an email, like a personalized email saying about why the person who worked there, I can't say her name, but the person who worked there, right? Like why she worked there. What is it about this organization that made her have a personal connection to it? And it just, it tugs at your heartstrings. And the thing is, with individual donors, yeah, there's the mega donors, there's the high impact donors, right, who give oodles of money. But then there's the people like you and I, and we're the ones that do help sustain these organizations who give, either it's weekly it's at our church that we give weekly to, right? Or if it's, monthly to our former, I don't know, alma mater, or to the Boy Scouts, or to wherever, somewhere that we feel emotionally bonded to, or it aligns with our own personal mission. Those are the organizations that we as individuals give to, right? And so those amounts are what continue to sustain organizations too. So do I think engaging with individuals at retirement homes? Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's a great idea. And I think you don't know unless you try too. So I'm going to stop recording, which again, I apologize. I'm not